Well, I'm getting a lot better about being on time, aren't I? That's how you know the apocalypse is happening, because Rachel's on time. You know what I mean? Very first time in my life I was early for anything was when I came out of my mother's vagina. You understand why I've been late now, like, literally, for everything, because I came out of that situation and I was like, "Wait a minute. So this is what it's like to be on time? It's not gonna ever happen again." Ah! My corona. My corona. My corona. My corona. There's a few things I'm gonna share tonight, and it's gonna be really important. It's gonna be informational, it's gonna be educational, it's gonna be interesting, it's gonna blow your mind in a way. But just to start the show, since people aren't used to me being on time-ish. Uh, yeah, I know. I know. That's how you know the apocalypse is happening. By the way, the apocalypse doesn't mean that word doesn't mean the end of the world. It means the great reveal. So, yeah, I'm on time because I now have responsibilities. Responsibilities. Ties to responsibilities. All right, guys. I'm going to start right away with this. I'm not messing around right now. I'm starting right out with a mind-blowing media, something that describes the media, which is very difficult to find in general for me to find this. So enjoy this. I spent a lot of time trying to find it. Just because I went on Twitter and, Elon Musk is taking over Twitter, and I was like, "Well, what does this mean?" And so I went on the twat. I haven't been on the twat in a long time. I started a new account on the twat. So Divine Detours, DVINE Detours on the twat is me. Got like 4 followers. Doesn't matter. I went on there to find out what was really going on. All right. So then I went to Elon Musk's twat. And one thing led to another, to another, to another, to another, to another, to another. So let me share this. I think this is uber important. And go. And it's called "And the Press Wonder Why We Don't Trust Them." By the way, this is not from Elon Musk's tweet. This is actually from the Associated Press, which wants to circulate that there are claims that natural immunity isn't as good as getting the whoopee cushion, blah 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 blah. It's incredible, and I love watching the responses to shit that people say that isn't true, because there's a mass waking right now. So the reason why I like the twat is that people are waking up, and my favorite thing to do is when I look up like a release on an article or something online, and there's you go to YouTube and it's the whole thing, and they turned off the comments. Oh, look at 1111. I gotta take a picture of this. This is I just having a lot of the 111s lately, so I gotta show you to you. That's like the 111. Ah, Satan, stand behind me. Just went to 12-1. It's all right. Getting you, Rachon? Well, get ready for this. Get ready for this. This is awesome. It's so great, because when someone is responding to the Associated Press on the twat, because the twat's like every piece of news information on the twat is all like C-19 cases on the rise, blah 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 blah. Okay, doesn't matter. Listen to this guy. Listen to this guy. So glad, because this was a response to the Associated Press latest. Because the twat's about to get rid of the bots on the twat. I don't care if you like Elon Musk. I don't care if you think he's part of the agenda. I really don't. I really don't care. All I know is that if the bots go away and actually we can see it change, like if I actually do get followers on the twat, then we'll know that Elon Musk is not a fraud. See, look at this. 111 111. Just saying. 533 111. Gematria is on my side today. What? All right, here we go. Let's roll it. Bam on, bam on, bam on.
There are other functions, however, some of them more legitimate than others. One is to run secret wars. Another thing is to disseminate propaganda to influence people's minds. And this is a major function of the CIA. And unfortunately, of course, it overlaps into the gathering of information. You have contact with a journalist. You will give him true stories. You'll get information from him. You'll also give him false stories. You also work on their human vulnerabilities to recruit them in a classic sense, to make them your agent so that you can control what they do. So you don't have to set them up sort of, by putting one over on them. So you can say, here, plant this one next Tuesday.
Can you do this with responsible reporters?
Yes, the Church Committee brought it out in 1975, and then Woodward and Bernstein put an article in Rolling Stone a couple of years later. 400 journalists cooperating with the CIA, including some of the biggest names in the business, to consciously introduce the stories into the press.
Well, give me a concrete example of how you use the press this way.
Well, for example, in my war, the Angola war that I helped to manage, 1/3 of my staff was propaganda. I had propagandists all over the world, principally in London, Kinshasa, and Zambia. We would take stories which we would write and put them in the Zambia Times, and then pull them out and send them to a journalist on our payroll in Europe. But his cover story, you see, would be that he'd gotten them from his stringer in Lusaka, who had gotten them from the Zambia Times. But after that point, the journalists, Reuters and AFP, the management was not witting of it. Now, our contact man in Europe was, and we pumped just dozens of stories about Cuban atrocities, Cuban rapists. We didn't know of one single atrocity committed by the Cubans. It was pure, raw, false propaganda to create an illusion of communists, eating babies for breakfast.
Well, let me just cut to now one of the most important videos I've ever seen, and I might just begin and end with this. So I'm sure that this is not going to make anybody happy, but this is already on YouTube. I'll leave the link actually below, and it is through my research with Cern and the particle accelerator and them turning on Cern in May to try to find dark matter. No big deal, guys. Just go about your business. Keep getting freaked out and keep getting your COVID tests. But this is probably the most important video I've seen in the last few years. For those that have ears.
Cities and civilizations begin to form is a question that takes us back to the roots of human experience. Humans are naturally social animals. We live in groups. None of us really have the resources as individuals to function and survive in the world. We have those resources as a community. And I think you can trace the human story as far back as you can possibly trace it, and you're going to find that community is part of it. And for a very long time, those communities were communities of hunter-gatherers. And it's interesting, if you go back to the Upper Paleolithic, that we find almost no evidence for warfare. we find almost no evidence for the greedy acquisition of material goods, rather a living in harmony with nature and a living off the land, but living as a community, small communities which are self-sufficient, which interrelate with other communities, but which do not make war upon them. There's no sign of that. Something else enters the human story in the period that academics call the Neolithic, when we get the supposedly, and I think this whole history needs to be looked at very, very carefully, but when we get supposedly the first agricultural communities that are, unlike hunter-gatherer communities, these agricultural communities are generating surpluses. Those surpluses allow specialist skills to emerge. Astronomers, priests, architects, designers can suddenly be supported by the community and can exercise their skills in the benefit of the community. That sounds like a really good thing, but it's unfortunately in the Neolithic, exactly when that begins to happen, that we get the evidence for warfare, for one community seeking to dominate and control another. And I think what a long look at the past says is that that is not inevitable to the human condition. We don't have to go that way. We can live in organized societies. We can benefit from large communities pooling their intelligence and their skills. We can benefit from all of that without becoming destructive and murderous. It's a matter of waking up and making the choice. Look, we're creatures of this planet. We are bound into the rhythms of this planet, and the ultimate, obvious, immediate, present rhythm is the rhythm of day and night. That for some hours, the side of the planet we're sitting on faces the sun, and as it revolves, it then faces darkness. So we have night and day, and it's part of all our biorhythms. I mean, you try and ignore night and day for too long, and you'll find that it has a very disturbing effect on your psyche. So I think we should never forget that we're creatures of the earth. We are part of this sacred realm, this gorgeous, beautiful garden of a planet. You know, this blue, lush, wondrous, beautiful planet that is floating like a bubble in space and preserving life. So of course we're part of the planet. We're not aliens here. We belong here. We emerged from this planet. We are, in a way, an important part of the consciousness of this planet. I'm not saying we're the only part. Consciousness is everywhere, but we're an important part of it. And because we have made ourselves so powerful, almost to the point where humanity has become a geological force, our consciousness and our behavior is a really important matter to consider if we're considering the future of the planet. So we should never forget, this planet is our home. We emerged from it. And this is, in my view, not an accidental process. It's a part of the whole universe coming awake. We are locked into the rhythms of this planet, whether it's night and day, whether it's the annual course of the Earth around the sun, which gives us the seasons. Beautifully and amazingly, the Earth is tilted on its axis at an angle of 23.5 degrees. For that reason, we have seasons. If the Earth was perfectly upright on its axis, we would not have seasons. But we have seasons because of the tilt. It's almost as though the universe conspired to create a beautiful home for life. It's almost like it was a project to create a place where life could flourish, where consciousness could grow and consciousness could develop. We need to remember that we're part of the Earth, we're part of the consciousness of the Earth, but we also need to remember that other forces are at work, which seek to shut human consciousness down. And part of our duty and part of our responsibility as creatures of the Earth is to resist those forces that shut down our consciousness, because it's the Earth that has given us our consciousness. The most important thing that we can teach our children is think for yourself. Never accept any idea off the peg, just because it comes from a respected individual or Dr. X or Professor Y or a government figure or anybody, just because it comes from Graham Hancock. Don't accept any ideas off the peg. Think for yourself. Work things out. That's what your brain is for. Use it. Get out there. Exercise it. Never react in an automatic, impulsive way, but think why you're reacting in the way you react. Often you'll find that institutions, organizations in our society are deliberately pressing buttons designed to provoke knee-jerk reactions. And the knee-jerk reaction is the last thing of being human. We have to react in a thought-out way and understand what we're doing. So the most important message for young people is think for yourselves, equip yourself with the tools to think for yourself. Never rely on any guru. Never put your trust in any individual who says that he or she knows how things are, because nobody really knows how things are. We're all on our individual life journey, and we're not here to be meat robots doing the business of the state or the big corporations. We are here to have an experience that will have, I believe, a profound long-term effect beyond this life on ourselves and on the universe as a whole. It's a sacred purpose that we're here to fulfill. And we have been equipped with certain facilities, including intelligence, in order to fulfill that sacred purpose. Use it. Think for yourself. Be your own leader. You don't need leaders. Why do we need leaders? Why do we need to be led? I've heard some say, oh, well, most people need leaders. Why do most people need leaders? We all have these huge brains. We all have this heart and this soul. What do we need to be led for? And when we look at the work of leaders over the centuries, over the millennia, there's very little in it that's good. Most of it's bad and harmful. Most of it's about the ego of the leader. I think that we're coming to a time in the human story when we need to dispense with leadership. We need to realize that we are our own guides and our own leaders. And if we do that, then the future will be much brighter than if we stay locked in the old paradigm of top-down control, structure, hierarchy, leadership, and gurus. That's why we have to take that next step. You know, we have to detach ourselves from the existing order of things. The existing order of things is profoundly negative for the human spirit. There's nothing in it that's good, as far as I can see. It's all bad, and it comes first from saying, I am a free individual. I am here to learn. I am here on a sacred journey. Nobody should get in the way of that. Nobody should tell me how to run my journey. I should run my journey myself.
To stay with our latest videos, make sure
Wow. Drop the mic on that. Just drop the mic on that. That was so unbelievably profound and beautiful and amazing. That's dude, that's just so incredible. Hi, Belinda. Yes. Good to see you, everyone. My friends, Taz, actually, the one that's really living out on a farm with goats and animals that are being born every 10 seconds. Check this out. This was just tonight. The new sense of life. How incredible was that? That was literally just earlier. Taz. They were right on time too, she says. Taz says, my last pregnant doe is due now. Just delivered tonight. 3 bucklings. That's 5 bucklings and 2 doelings for this season. Covered in fluids. She's gonna go and clean them up and then come back to my live stream. How's that for fucking epic woman right there? Hear me roar. Look at this. I'm gonna play it again. This is so awesome. Oh, my God. Oh, it's so awesome. Check this out. How beautiful. They just were born, you guys. They were just born. He's like, yeah, that's right. That's right. Look what I just brought to this planet. Wow. How beautiful. How beautiful. Oh my God. Taz, I've got to ask you a question, man. You've inspired me more than anything. Growing your own food, you're living on a farm, you're completely fine. You got your, in case in case anyone gets near you, you are locked and loaded. You got animals galore. You're the real deal. Can I be your friend?
Oh, I see you have a Keurig. Can I be your friend? Oh, I see you have a hairstyle. Can I be your friend? Oh, I see you have compost. Can I be your friend? Oh, I see you have a nickname. Can I be your friend? Oh, I see you have a girlfriend. Can I be your friend? Oh, I see you have a schedule. Can I be your friend? Oh, I see you've had a rough day. Can I be your friend?
All right. I got people texting me while I'm doing okay. Life Matrix. I'm live now. Okay. So I've just been out of touch with the whole interwebs and found out that, I used to be on a podcast, Mandela Mondays, and Daniel's Scare Performance has been missing for a while. I'm sure he's fine, but I think he has somebody in his family that is ailing, and so that's where his focus is. So I just wanted to put my energy there and say hi. And Life Matrix posted just a tiny clip of back in the day Mandela Mondays, which I think is part of the only reason that I'm on the interwebs and went down every rabbit hole that there is. Before we get to that, I just want to quick play a little bit of news out of Australia, which isn't really recent, but recent enough that is important to share. There we go.
And I know you made a point here about Musk.
Hold on a second. Oh, you got to make fun of this reality. You have to.
Removed to drink alcohol. Can you remove it to
Hold on a second.
drink coffee or eat food? Can you remove it to drink coffee?
Yeah, we're asking people to do the best that they possibly can, to apply common sense.
This is breaking news out of Australia, which I think you guys have heard that this is probably something I'm not going to be able to play anymore, but the mask mandate has been removed on all travel. But look up the judge, because a bunch of volunteers said she was worthy of passing the bar. Anyway, we won't ever have to do this again, I hope.
No.
Yeah, of course. Sorry. Just a few questions regarding masks. Do I wear a mask in a shopping centre?
Yes, Jason. Of course you do.
Right, but there is a lot of space. You could probably social distance. What about a cafe?
Oh, you don't have to wear it in a cafe. Don't be stupid.
What if I go to the cinema?
You must wear a mask in the cinema. It's a matter of public health. What are you, stupid? Do you want to infect the whole country? In the cinema, you wear a mask.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Wait, Jason.
Did you order popcorn? Yeah, of course. What's a movie without popcorn, hey?
Well, then that's fine. You can eat your popcorn for the whole movie with your mask off.
Right, okay, so when I'm eating, I don't have to wear a mask.
That is correct, Jason.
So do I have to wear a mask on a plane?
Yes.
But if I'm eating?
No.
In a gym?
Yes, Jason.
If I'm exerting myself?
No.
So all of the places I have to wear a mask, if I'm eating, it's fine.
Must be safe at all times, Jason. Unless you're eating, because people have to eat. And drinking. You don't have to wear a mask if you're having a drink.
So you never wear a mask then?
What did you say, Jason?
Nothing. What about at a concert? A human nature... what about at a concert? A human nature concert?
Well, Jason, you have to sit down in your seat. And there's no dancing. Unless you want to dance in your seat. Then you can dance.
Oh, okay. So I can sing along to the tunes from my seat as well?
No, Jason, there'll be no singing. That spreads germs, Jason.
Oh, okay. What about the guys on stage?
Of course they're singing, Jason. They're singers, you idiot.
Okay. Because it's very noisy at a concert like that, can I yell loudly to my friends?
Don't see a problem with that at all, Jason.
Right, so no singing, but yelling loudly is fine. Okay, right.
Would there be anything else, Jason?
Oh, one more thing. Just if you're sick, what do you do if you're feeling a bit sick?
Jason. If you have any symptoms at all, you stay at home. You don't go to work and you don't leave your house. But you also need to go and get a test. And line up for 4 hours with lots of other people trying to get a test. Coughing and spluttering in the queue. Do that. It's a matter of public health, Jason. I'm going home. Goodbye.
No removal of masks to consume alcohol outdoors. So you will no longer be able to remove your mask to drink a cocktail at a pop-up beer garden on a footpath as part of a pub crawl.
And I know you made a point here about masks must not be removed to drink alcohol. Can you remove it to drink coffee or eat food? Can you remove it to drink coffee?
Yeah, we're asking people to do the best that they possibly can to apply common sense.
No removal of masks to consume alcohol outdoors. So you will no longer be able to remove your mask to drink a cocktail at a pop-up beer garden on a footpath as part of a pub crawl.
And I know you made a point here about masks must not be removed to drink alcohol. Can you remove it to drink coffee or eat food? Can you remove it to drink coffee?
Yeah, we're asking people to do the best that they possibly can to apply common sense.
No removal of...
So for some people, that's not funny because it's so ridiculous. But let's focus on the next thing that we are speaking about this evening. Cern in about, in May, is turning on their particle accelerator again, which is interesting timing because, let's just say certain people have theories about the particle accelerator being turned on, and that is what has shifted reality in a way that none of us can really explain. But before we get to that, I would like to quick focus on Elon Musk and the I just want you guys to look at this picture. I'm not going to say anything. Just look at the picture because I'll give my maybe opinion, but I think you should see the picture. It's on the twat. Here you go. This is on Elon Musk's twat. Okay. There you go. The 4 astronauts of Crew 4 are set to launch to our orbiting laboratory on April 27. Hold on a second. What's the date today? Is that today? Is that right now? April 27? Is that now? Are they ready to launch now? In the Gregorian calendar. Good thing they say that. Hey Siri, is it April 26th today? Dude, these astronauts are about to take off. So let's just look at them. Let's just look at it. I think you guys understand that concept, right? Just look at it. There's nothing weird about that picture whatsoever. It's completely, totally real. In fact, as Elon Musk says, what's this person doing behind there? What's this guy? What's this guy with the what's he got in his hands? It looks so fake it has to be real. From the words of Elon Musk, it looks so fake it has to be real. Anyway, this is the reason I do love the twat, are the comment section. See, because people do comment and they actually comment with intelligence and humor. So let's just see some of the comments of this particular twat. All right, here we go. Let's just look at some of these comments. The 4 astronauts of Crew 4 are set to launch to our orbiting laboratory on April 27th. This is pre-launch teleconference. Okay. Now I just want to, I'm just going to the comments. This is me just sharing comments. This is not my opinion. This is me enjoying people give their opinions. All right. So please, for a second. Not trying to be a downer, but is it true that there are holes in our atmosphere where they keep going up? Rocket. Can we have some explanation? My daughter just told me this. Well, okay. Her daughter told her there are holes in the atmosphere. All right, let's just keep going. Is this a joke? What are those farmer suits? Facepalm. So when will somebody outsource the spacesuits to a designer and not some MIT grad? Everyone's commenting their spacesuits, and then someone put these comparing it to that. That's funny. This is the same Elon Musk that essentially said he would allow Russian news propaganda to continue on Twitter. I think Russia should be able to speak wherever Russia wants to speak. So I don't have a problem with that. Suits don't even need a craft for re-entry. They could just jump out and glide like flying squirrels. Okay, what's this? We've got, no, come on. Before Elon Musk bought Twitter, 85 million followers, after 448. Dear Elon, is there room for myself, or better yet, I will volunteer to go to Mars and live there right now. I have nothing here left on Earth to keep me here. I have no family, no friends. I'm a broke truck driver who was let go from my only source of income. I just asked that I could bring my son. That's sad and kind of funny at the same time because he's making a point with humor. That's what people do. Replying to NASA and Elon Musk, I'm ready to go. Only if you can tell us when DOGE1 will visit Moon soon so we can watch live all the cities on the dark side of the moon where our ancient alien advanced beings can connect with us. We want to advance technology, but also mentally. We are not alone. We want B part 2. I can't tell if they're serious when these comments are serious. I really can't tell, but I'm going to go through a couple of them. Elon Musk participate with Tesla. First thing, we have the driver who will lead us to victory. Second thing, team manager. Third thing, we will win. I wish them best of luck, but they aren't exactly dressed for success, are they? It literally looks like a CG faces implanted in weird suits. Where is that supposed laboratory you're going to? Swamps? Why else would you need those boots? I'm sorry. And then there's a couple of tweets that are unavailable. I wonder if Elon Musk does actually buy the twat, will there be tweets that are unavailable? I bet those are actually the truth. Wishing the crew a safe and wonderful launch. Wow, that's very good. 4 astronauts. Congratulations. I spent my childhood wanting to be Starbuck. Oh my God. Dear Elon, I think you should buy NASA because they're very far from a futuristic version of space. Do you think the same as me, or do I have to see Star Trek again? Oh man, okay. 2 more comments. They couldn't look better if they were wearing Nikes with those tracksuits. I hope the mothership doesn't leave without them. Now that you own Twitter, oh God, can you allow Trump? Trump doesn't want to come back on anyway. It doesn't matter. Those look like beta Subnautica suits. I would die of embarrassment meeting an ET wearing that. Oh shit. I love it. Ledger, how do you acquire one of those promo codes? I bought 3 ledgers and not okay. Now we're talking geeky space shit. The angle in which this photo was taken looks like micro humans. Anyway, best of luck to you. To infinity and beyond. Oh my God. Reconsider. Seeing NASA regularly launching humans to orbit is such a relief after a shuttle ended. Seemed so gloomy for years. Oh, okay. All right. All right. The new suits look like bad Doctor Who cosplay. Oh my God. The first woman on the moon should be transgender, right? Oh, that's pretty funny. Any surviving astronaut who walked on the moon could self-identify as a female to claim the title. Who designed these sick new space? I love how everyone's just looking at, and then someone's just like, just a lie. Just a lie. Oh God. I love those comments. They're funny to me. I appreciate it. So let's keep on going. We're going to keep this moving, guys. But just so you know, this is happening tomorrow, and you can tune in if you'd like. Yeah, those suits look. That no one likes the suits. What do they want them in? Fluorescent orange? What? This is really weird. They look like action figures. Someone said. As a member of human being, it's as a member of human being, that's how you know it's a bot or somebody that doesn't speak English. As a member of human being, it's very happy to see science moving forward. Bot, 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 bot. Replying to NASA. That's a UFO. Apparently, someone's showing a UFO. Oh, goodness. All right. Anyway, so we're going to stop doing that one, and we're going to move on to the next story, which I said I was going to do and keep this moving. The next story is we might keep the particle accelerator for later. But the next story is there's a bill in California that was passed while you were sleeping and watching Johnny Depp and his absolutely 100% psycho personality disorder girlfriend, Amber Heard. Sorry, 100%. I've been watching. There's not even a question in my mind. Not even a question. Never was. But while we're watching that trial, let's tune into a comedian who I like because he's got the long hair and he tells truth with humor, which is something that I heard I might do from time to time. Let's go. Come on, Russell. Share it. This is information, guys. Here we go.
Wim Hof live. Go and sign up to my mailing list. There'll be on underway by lawmakers described by some as Orwellian. I've read him, 1984, the one where the pigs go naughty. To push 2 new COVID bills, one that would deal with misinformation around the epidemic and the virus coming from doctors, and another whose goal is to promote censorship by internet platforms. One of the proposed bills quotes unnamed major news outlets who have concluded that the most dangerous spreaders of COVID misinformation are healthcare professionals. That's who we got to clamp down on. Doctors, nurses, they've been ruining this COVID pandemic. If we could just get rid of all doctors and nurses, we'd be able to solve this bloody COVID misinformation crisis a lot more quickly. Another thing that the bill aims to stop is doctors telling their patients that if they have acquired natural immunity, they don't need to get the vaccine as well. So I've acquired natural immunity. Do I need to get the vaccine as well? It used to be I just couldn't understand your handwriting. Now I can't understand your talking. There's a joke from 1980 for you. Once again, today we'll be citing Jay Bhattacharya, that old hack from Stanford University, that wacky old conspiracy theorist down at Stanford School of Medicine. If you go down to Stanford or Harvard or Yale or any of those places, you can barely hear anything from the crunching of the tinfoil hats. Professor Jay Bhattacharya says, a proposed California law threatens to make such dissent career-ending by handing the state the power to strip medical licenses from doctors who disagree with government positions on COVID. We've done a few videos lately, haven't we, that's shown you how politicians seek to use, manipulate, metastasize scientific data towards political ends. According to the California Assembly Bill 2098, physicians who deviate from an authorized set of beliefs would do so at risk to their medical license. The idea that you could have rogue doctors doing crazy stuff is something that should be, I suppose, observed. But it seems like this bill, according to Professor Bhattacharya here, is not about controlling maverick doctors that might want to chop off your hand and replace it with a foot to see if it all works out, but in fact, to control the flow of scientific discourse. The bill, written by Assemblyman Evan Lowe, a Democrat in Silicon Valley and currently making its way through the California legislature, is motivated by the idea that practicing doctors are spreading misinformation about the risks of COVID, its treatment, and the COVID vaccine. Oh, you doctors. I remember when it was just conspiracy theorists out there, but those conspiracy theorists, so manipulative, they've managed to turn themselves into doctors on the side. It declares that physicians and surgeons who disseminate or promote misinformation or disinformation related to COVID-19, including false or misleading information. Who's false? Who's misleading? This is the problem that we're faced with these days, isn't it? Because some people are deciding what's false and misleading, and often what's false and misleading is stuff that's like affects their top line, their bottom line, affects their ability to make profit, control discourse, control public conversation. We, ordinary folk, we query whether or not it really is false and misinformation, or if it's just not bloody convenient to their aims, agenda, objectives. False or misleading information regarding the nature and risks of the virus, its prevention and treatment, and the development, safety and effectiveness of COVID-19 vaccines. One thing we can see from what's going on in China is you don't want more control, regulation and legislation. First of all, we don't want people on the internet saying stuff. No, it's doctors and physicians. Let's be honest, there's a spectrum of belief, isn't there, around COVID and vaccines? There's some people who think, the whole thing was made up. I don't want to get a vaccine under any circumstances. Where other people say, this is no serious thing that's ever happened. Get vaccines, get boosters, get whatever. And do you know what? I think it's up to you where you stand on that scale and what my opinion is and what the people I work with's opinion is. That's all our own deal. What if, though, a doctor who says, natural immunity or hybrid immunity is best on one day, and the government, they're not into it that week, go, you're fired, you're sacked. Well, you're going to give him or her their job back, in a month, when it's like, actually, you're right about that. Sorry we sacked you about the old hybrid immunity. The situation is constantly evolving. In a situation that's evolving, where there is no certainty, where there can only really be guiding principles like, freedom of speech, honest and open communication, trust scientific data, allow opposing views to come together to, in collusion, create truths that will necessarily be complex because it is an evolving situation. When you have something like that, you cannot lean into the tyranny. You can't start sacking medical professionals who have sworn an oath to do what's best for their patients, who may err because they are, after all, human, but are in caring professions. I don't want that power given to the state. I want that power to remain in the hands of scientists, medics, professionals. It don't matter where you are on your own particular journey around COVID and its treatment. What matters is that we can all communicate with one another and agree that tyranny is not the answer. She'll be subject to disciplinary action, which could result in the loss of the doctor's medical license. The language of the bill itself is intentionally vague about what constitutes misinformation, which makes it even more damaging. Doctors, fearing loss of their livelihoods, will need to hew closely to the government line on COVID science and policy, even if that line does not track the scientific evidence. I see, that's how you get compliance. You be vague about what the rules are, you state what the government imperative is, and then people will be so nervous and scared that they'll just parrot that opinion. That switches people off. That turns us into automatons. No one knows what they're supposed to be saying, so we sort of just drift into a kind of state of default hypnosis. After all, until recently, top government science bureaucrats like Dr. Fauci claimed that the idea that COVID came from a Wuhan laboratory was a conspiracy theory rather than a valid hypothesis that should be open to discussion. So there you go. There's one clear example of the changing narrative. The government's track record on discerning COVID truths is poor. All right, so you're certain that what you've got now is the truth. We're absolutely certain of it. How's your track record on discerning truths? I'm not going to tell you that. That's private. You're not even allowed to ask that question. That question was misinformation. The bill claims that the spread of misinformation by physicians about the COVID vaccines has weakened public confidence and placed lives at serious risk. That's not the misinformation. That's the changing narrative. That's like someone whose dog doesn't trust them because they've kicked their dog, trying to solve their dog's distrust by kicking the dog harder. But how significant is this problem in reality? Over 83% of Californians over the age of 50 are fully vaccinated, including the booster. What is abundantly clear is that the bill represents a chilling interference with the practice of medicine. The bill itself is full of misinformation. Oh no, the actual bill! One thing we must do is stamp out misinformation so that all the kangaroos in California can form orderly queues around the block. We don't have kangaroos in California and they would never form orderly lines under any circumstances. Shut up, shut up! Full of misinformation and a demonstration of what a disaster it would be to have the legislature dictate the practice of medicine. Yeah, like let it be its own thing. Stop trying to suppress everything into models of convenience and oppression. If this bill passes, would a California physician be in trouble for taking into account a patient's COVID history when making vaccine recommendations? Another statement in the bill's preamble asserts that the safety and efficacy of COVID vaccines have been confirmed through evaluation by the Federal Food and Drug Administration, the FDA. Let's just quickly check who funds it. I'd like to tell you who funds the FDA, but it might be misinformation. If you want to know more about the FDA, we've done a couple of videos. We'll throw to them at the end. The bill directs the California State Licensing Board to impose disciplinary penalties which could result in the loss of a medical license on physicians who disseminate misinformation. A loss of license would be career-ending for doctors who spend their lives caring for patients. One thing we want to do right now is get rid of doctors, shut down doctors, ruin the confidence of medical professionals. Have less doctors. One of the things I was thinking throughout the pandemic is there's too many bloody doctors and we can't trust the ones we have got. But since the examples cited in the bill are themselves misleading, even physicians who practice medicine responsibly or give public presentations grounded in solid scientific research on the evolving COVID science may face unjust license suspensions. I bet some of you have had things where you've been banned off social media for saying stuff in the past that now is legit, right? Let me know in the comments below if that's happened to you. So that shows you the danger of having a kind of a certain and all-encompassing edict around an evolving situation. I'm continually saying to you, we need values that we can rely on, like, you know, kindness, service, community, compassion, piety, listening, you know, all sorts of stuff like that. You've probably got your own set. We do need those, some moral values that are somewhat permanent. But among that must be the ability to adapt and evolve that's not continually guided by the North Star of tyranny and corruption. You know what it is. You know it's behind all this stuff. Increase power and increase the influence and ability of the powerful to control outcomes. The ultimate effect of the bill will be to chill public criticism by California doctors of mistaken government public health dictates, since few will want to put their licenses in the hands of the very public health officials with whom they disagree over the interpretation of science. Even legitimate dissent from public health orthodoxy by licensed doctors may be excised from the public square as a consequence. Can their agenda really be to create more trust? Because if it is, you wouldn't sack a trusted family doctor of many years' service for doing what they believe to be best for their patients and possibly replace them with what? An obedient little robot? I was beginning to feel some mistrust in the state because of many things that have happened in the last few years. But since they got rid of my beloved family doctor, good old Dr. Chalkley, and replaced her with the COVID bot 2000, I feel a lot more trust. Thank you for visiting. Here is your new spate of injections. What injections? Shut up! Worse, the widespread distrust Americans now have in public health institutions will only deteriorate further. And that's to say nothing of the impact this bill would have on the practice of medicine, which I would have thought should be a priority. Doctors have an obligation to treat each patient as an individual. Yet the California Assembly Bill turns doctors into agents of state public health rather than advocates for their patients. Wow, what a brilliant observation. Suddenly now, their priority is not caring for the individuals, but operating under the edicts of the state. How fantastic. Can you see how that could play out in other situations? Let's forget the temporal nature of the panic around the last couple of years and concentrate instead on legislation and regulation introduced during this period and how its application may alter throughout time. Generally, I suppose we could ask ourselves, does this increase authority? Does this increase the ability of the state to control individual lives and the lives of whole communities? And when the answer to that is yes, I don't think it's a good thing. So even if, say, with something like Canada and the truckers, even if you think, I don't like them truckers, look at them with their hats and their beards. If the underlying issue is sort of freedom of speech and the ability to protest against the government, what if next time it's, like little children or something? It could change all the time. The principle, keep your eye on the principle. History provides abundant examples of what happens when the state regulates science. In the former Soviet Union, Stalin's favorite geneticist, Trofim Lysenko, dominated biology and the agricultural sciences. Lysenko rejected Mendelian genetics in favor of his own theory that plants could inherit acquired characteristics. Do you have any evidence of this? No, I don't have any evidence, it's just my theory. Well, you are my favorite. Carry on. Stalin empowered him to destroy the careers and lives of geneticists who opposed him, causing many to suffer secret arrests and even death. Hey, I don't agree with this thing that plants can inherit characteristics. Oh, yeah? Argue with that! When his theories failed, oh, embarrassing, the consequence was mass starvation in Russia. Can I have a word with you about those theories? Mr. Stalin, I can see that you're angry. 30 million deaths is a lot. But this turnip is very likely to win first prize at the country fair. Trofim, who is going to eat the turnip? I know, if only we'd grown it a little sooner. But it was my adversaries. They wouldn't believe in my theories. The Chinese communists also adopted his beliefs at the cost of the starvation of 30 million. We're not the Soviet Union, of course, nor are we ruled by Chinese communists. Not with that attitude. California lawmakers, thankfully, do not have the power currently being exercised in Shanghai. But this bill follows the same dangerous principle that government-authorised science should permit no opposition from people with the credentials and knowledge to oppose it. I think anyone should be able to oppose it. But if they've got the credentials and knowledge, these are great qualifications for opposition. The false medical consensus enforced by AB 2098 will lead doctors to censor themselves to avoid government sanction, and it will be their patients, above all, who will be harmed by their silence.
I love Russell, and the truth that he's bringing out. And I'm sure I've been blamed for making light of situations as well by, doing things like adding funny little bits and humor in between the truth. But this right here is it's so huge. It's so huge. This is a bill. I'm only reading a bill. If you watch Schoolhouse Rock, you know what a bill is. I'm just a bill. The false medical consensus enforced by this bill will lead doctors to censor themselves to avoid government sanction, and it will be their patients above all who will be harmed by their silence. Now, look, if you want to go to like kind of a spiritual truth, everything in this reality, everything right now is basically asking you, who is your God? Is your job your God? Is your money your God? Is people who like you your God? Are you afraid to say what you really think because you won't be liked by society or you won't continue to get work? But then again, if your God is your boss or your job, then you really aren't believing in the divine God that takes care of all of us and that takes care of every bird and every animal and every plant. And ultimately, that divinity is all around us. But if we are nervous about the rules that make us go against our own soul, do nothing that harms your soul. Do nothing that goes against your soul and your intuition, because that's the only way the universe and God is able to speak to us at this point, is through our soul, through our belly barometer, I call it, or through the little goosebumps that you get on your arms when you know it's right. So, because I'm keeping this under an hour tonight, that's how you know the apocalypse has happened. Rachel has an under hour live stream and she was on time. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to handle it. Just we're going to get to some prayers for Daniel, Scarab Channel, my first podcast that I did, Mandela Mondays, and Life Matrix was sharing this on his channel. And we're just going to quick cut to a minute of the previous Rachel years ago, who was talking about all these changes that happened in the Mandela effect. And one of them was giant chickens and Sally Fields. So we're going to cut to this a second. This is a visit to the past.
When it comes out of that
oh my God,
chicken coop, it's just like, you're like, what is going on?
Oh,
I got my mom with the big chicken. She freaked out when she saw the chicken. She's like,
it is just so, like, I don't, here's the thing though, we're in a world now, we're in a world where things are bigger.
Dude, I really like that movie.
I love, yeah. What one? What movie?
In a World. You've never seen that movie?
No, I was mocking like the voiceover guy. Like,
well, it's a whole movie mocking the voiceover guy.
Oh, that's hysterical.
Oh yeah,
yes, I think I did see that. In a world where chickens are bigger. I want to see in person these chickens because they look like they're as tall as me. They look like they're 5'6", right? They're just, it's not, they can't, is it a different reality or do we just have more, more footage of things
at
now?
least 3.5 foot tall.
But we have more footage. I go back and forth with, because I've seen animals that you guys would not believe. And I had a show in 2006 on Animal Planet where I traveled the world and compared animal and human behavior. And I was in the Great Barrier Reef seeing shit you'd never even, like, it still blows my mind. There's a thing called the clownfish. It changes sex on demand. If they're running out of men, it turns into a woman. If they're running out of woman, it turns into a man instantly. And that was back then. Like, it was before Bruce Jenner. Okay. That was before Caitlyn. No, they do. I'm not kidding. So the whole animal thing, when you guys show me animals, I'm like, no, I've seen crazy shit that most of us don't get to the bottom of the ocean to see. So I just think we have more connections with people with cameras that are there to videoing them.
I kind of agree with that somewhat. I think that's weird that
except for that lion's mane. Can you pull that up? Can you pull up the lion's mane? Oh, Angela, you thought the whale was the biggest thing in the ocean. Look at this. The lions.
I've already been traumatized by that thing. I'm already scared to put my toes in the ocean.
Jellyfish.
And you can make the argument. You can make the argument that.
Whoa! Hi.
Oh, somebody got out of the bathtub.
Hi.
And you can make the argument that the internet is exposing us to all these animals we've never seen before as well, but not large, freaking massive chickens. I'm sorry.
No. So, Scarab, if you can pull up the, there's some certain people in the chat room that actually say they haven't seen the big chickens, which I can't believe. Okay. And people are like, huge chickens? What? No. Okay. Well, let him pull up the big chickens and then that freaking gigantic lion's mane jellyfish, which doesn't even look.
I'll pull up the video. It's hard to find the video now because they pulled it down, but I saw it since I recorded it.
Oh yeah, seahorses are the only male that gets pregnant.
Be careful with the video though, because I got a copyright strike. They made me pull down a video for video. I mean, yeah, they did.
What? A video for video?
Yeah. You share certain video these days, they'll shut down your live cast. And they're trying to find a reason to shut this one down right now. This one's it's over the top. So
I won't play much of it. All right, I'm trying to see what it's going to play. Hold on. Okay, here it goes.
I'm actually really excited because I haven't seen this chicken in a minute.
Oh, hey, kitty.
Oh.
Okay, right, that doesn't even sound real.
That was a little weird.
That's just weird sound. So maybe
that's my load slower. We're online. Sorry, guys. All right, so let me go here.
Okay, well, Scarab, while you're looking that up, because I don't think there should be dead air, because I'm one of those, let's try to fill the space. But he did text me back.
Okay.
And he has another project for your little Fiverr, if you can get him. But it would be the only way to find out who misquoted Not yet. When it does,
I know. I hit the
that.
play
Oh,
button.
yeah. I can see his little chicken butt. Little chicken butt
there.
trying to poke through. Oh, here we go. Oh my god, slow motion. But oh my god.
Oh,
There's
yes,
just no
that's the
way.
money shot. Look at those feet. OMG.
I love that chicken. All right.
No, that's a freaky one. That's a freaky one.
You
That's a
can't
freaky
get you can't get that at Chick-fil-A. CHICKs.
Yeah, exactly.
CHICK. You can't at any Chick-fil-A.
Not yet.
CHICK. You can't.
Little chicken butt
there.
trying to poke through. Oh, here we go. Oh my god, slow motion. But oh my god.
Oh,
There's
yes,
just no way.
that's the money shot. Look at
That's like a human-sized chicken. Remember this was at Hangouts. This is what Hangouts. We were just all talking to each other about this. That's a chicken. I don't care what you know about chickens. That is not. Oh yeah, and the deer swimming in the lake. Don't get me started on that. Don't get me started on Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer coming down Lake Michigan, swimming home for Christmas. It's a gigantic chicken. If you guys don't think it's weird, fine. Don't. You know what? I'm used to people not thinking anything's weird. Like that's normal. That's fine. That's fine. And lion, Maine, jellyfish. All right. This is now the biggest creature in the ocean in this reality. All right. So I'm reporting information. I'm reporting information. That's all. I'm just going to quick do this and I'm going to let it go. But this thing right here, you tell me. You tell me. Forget the whale. This thing. Come on. It was like a scary movie. It is a gigantic creature. I mean, that's just a jellyfish, but this is called a lion's mane jellyfish, and apparently it's bigger than a this is a more actual size of what it looks like. It's bigger than a than a whale. It's now bigger. It's the biggest thing in the ocean now. Bigger than a whale. All right. So anyway, I'm not going to get going on the changes in this reality because I can't with it. Just can't. Okay, guys, we're going to end with this. We're going to end with the Johnny Depp because I have to. I really do think it's a fascinating, again, psychological profile. So if you guys have ever been in a I don't know, a really toxic relationship, which if you're over 30, you definitely have. You know that you know what the signs are. And this was so great. So I'm just going to end with this because this is such an example of like where the relationship was going anyway. But they both left their spouses to be together based off of this moment. This moment. It's a sexy moment, not going to lie. But yeah, and he talks about this moment. It's a shower scene. But this is can you see it? Okay. the moment they had the shower scene, he felt something he never felt before, and it was different, and da 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 da. And I'm thinking, well, how's it serving you now? Men think with two heads. One of them does not get you into a good situation. This is also very representational of their relationship right now, which we think we can all relate to. But I think this is fascinating. This is it's the car scene. Here we go.
But you scream before I do.
I bet you scream before I do. She's a bad actress, by the way. Nothing. Johnny, with the penis, you gotta listen to your head that's above your neck.
Love this car.
Did he give it to you?
I wish. Fast.
You want a little bet?
Bet about what?
That you scream before I do.
Did I scream before you do in relation to what?
Well, how fast does it go?
I don't know.
That's the bet.
I already crashed one car today.
It's okay. I'll just go sit in the foyer and wait for him.
What do I get if I win?
I'll let you know if you do.
Take you back.
Oh my goodness, she was rejected then and then in real life. How is it that art mimics reality or reality mimics art? But let's end this with the borderline personality disorder that that is Amber Heard and might be many people that we've dated, but it's pretty interesting. And I'm interested in psychology, so I'm not just about the drama and the entertainment, whatever. I think we can all learn from this. I just think we can all learn from this. All right. Here we go. This is a psychologist on the Amber Heard's borderline personality. Go.
Yes, I did. So in conducting my evaluation, I met with Ms. Heard on 2 separate dates, December 10th and December 17th, 2021.
Approximately how much time have you spent with Ms. Heard?
So the evaluation, we spent 12 hours directly with one another. However, there were more hours involved in the evaluation with some breaks. So we spent 7 hours together on the first day.
As a result of the work that you performed, did you form any opinions with respect to Ms. Heard?
I did.
What were those opinions?
The results of Ms. Heard's evaluation supported 2 diagnoses: borderline personality disorder and histrionic personality disorder.
Are you aware that Mr. Depp is on an audio recording years earlier taunting Amber Heard that she has a borderline personality disorder?
I was made aware of that in this case, yes.
So you did is that
Actually,
one of the audio
not
tapes you
necessarily
listened to?
taunting, but I do recall hearing that Mr. Depp had used that phrase.
Would you agree that a disproportionate number of women are tagged with a diagnosis of borderline personality disorder?
No, that's not quite right.
75%?
The way you phrased it is not quite right.
Tell me what's right.
Okay, so there are more women who have been diagnosed with bipolar disorder than men. It's more prevalent in women.
And trauma can cause borderline personality disorders, can't it?
No.
Never?
Right now, we know that there are people who have borderline personality disorder who have sustained childhood trauma. There are also people who have borderline personality disorder who have had no childhood trauma. So like most personality disorders, and really like most mental health issues in general, there seems to be both a biological component. In this case, with borderline personality disorder, the research tends to support a genetic component and possibly a neurological component. And then there is also possibly an environmental component triggering those genetic markers.
Would you agree that if you did not find something that would be in favor of Mr. Depp and negative to Ms. Heard, that you wouldn't be an expert in this case? That
Essentially,
I can bring you into court if you're going to say that Ms. Heard is right and Mr. Depp is wrong, correct?
So as a forensic psychologist, my obligation is to the court, is to the fact finder. I present science regardless of what that science may be. Now, when I take a case, my retainer agreement is explicit about that.
What
Or even on the test alone, you integrate other data.
How did you administer the MMPI-2 to Ms. Heard?
I provided her the test on an iPad. She essentially had her own little desk area and then an iPad. She hits start, it provides her with the instructions, and then it gives her 567 statements in order. For each one, she taps true or false.
What did you learn about Ms. Heard from the results of the MMPI-2?
Quite a bit. I wrote up a 25-page interpretation outline. It has numerous scales. So one of the reasons I like this measure so much is that it can tell you so much about multiple different traits and tendencies and mental issues. One of the primary things I learned was that she had a very sophisticated way of minimizing any personal problems. I also learned that she tends to, well, there were a number of characteristics that were consistent with the eventual diagnoses, but some of the primary characteristics, and I'm going to try to condense 25 pages here, were essentially externalization of blame, tending to have a lot of inner hostility that is attempted to be controlled, a tendency to be very self-righteous, but to also deny that self-righteousness and to judge others critically against these sort of high standards for moral value, but also to deny doing that, essentially to claim that one is very non-judgmental and accepting, and yet very full of rage, really. And these aren't facts, but her scores essentially correlated. So they were consistent with other people who obtain these scores who have been shown through many studies to have these very specific traits. So externalization of blame, A lot of inner anger and hostility. Sometimes that anger among these groups with similar scores, these people might have that anger kind of explode out at times. They tend to be very passive aggressive. They may be self-indulgent, very self-centered. They could use manipulation tactics to try to get their needs met, very needy of attention, acceptance, approval. They tend to distance people who are close to them. Initially, they may seem very charming. They're very socially sophisticated, actually. That was a major component on there. They have a capacity to kind of offer.
First of all, I have a question. Could we possibly get this test maybe on a dating app? Like when you are on a dating app, can you just like send them this 56-page? Not that I am on a dating app. I was at one point, allegedly. Could we just get this test on a dating app so we could just have everybody take the test and then have this chick go, oh my God, this guy or this girl is bipolar, or he is let's just say borderline. Like the song from Madonna, but not. I just can't. Amber is getting her ass handed to her on a platter. And it's but it's not bullshit. It's really, Johnny is not a saint by any means. He's done a lot of great things, given to like 18 different charities. And there was one movie he was in, and they were going to put the horse down. They were going to euthanize the horse. And so he actually bought the horse so that they wouldn't kill him. So he's not a saint. Done some good things. Not sure that you can find anything on Amber, but I'm not judging. I find it fascinating that Entertainment Tonight shared what I just previously shared with you, trying to make Amber look like even the news can't make her look, because Disney fired Johnny without even telling him. Pirates of the Caribbean, he didn't know he was going to get fired, but they fired him, and so Entertainment Tonight and anything else sponsored by who is not, they have an agenda. They're not for Johnny because Disney fired Johnny, so they're going to try to make Johnny still look like the bad guy, but always follow the money. Follow the money. Follow the money. Who sponsors ABC, NBC, CBS? Who?
By Pfizer.
I'm sorry, what?
Good Morning America is brought to you by Pfizer. CBS Health Watch, sponsored by Pfizer.
If you don't know what sponsored means, that means they pay for the content. Therefore, you must say exactly what they tell you to say. I know because I was on TV, and a show that I was on for 5 years was sponsored by a certain company. So I had to say exactly what they told me to say.
Anderson Cooper 360. Brought to you by Pfizer. ABC News Nightline. Brought to you by Pfizer. Making a difference. Brought to you by Pfizer. CNN Tonight. Brought to you by Pfizer.
What?
Early Start. Brought to you by Pfizer. Friday night on Aaron Burnett Out Front. Brought to you by Pfizer. This week with George Stephanopoulos is brought to you by Pfizer.
This weather report I rest my case.
Sponsored by Pfizer.
I'm sorry, what?
Good Morning America.
How could anybody literally watch that little 2-minute comedy bit I did about sponsored by Pfizer? How can they really watch that and go, oh, okay, but I'm still going to listen and believe everything they say? How can you literally still believe everything they say when you saw who sponsors them, who's trying to convince you to do that? Ugh. Anyway, back to the trial. Just learn a little bit about psychology, and then we'll end the stream, okay? But I have to share this because it was so good. I learned a lot. I really did. Okay, here we go. We'll talk about Cern tomorrow night because that's too much in one night. I'm exhausted. I mean, we got to end on a note of I don't know. Hear what the lady's saying. I feel like she's got some knowledge. I feel like she's smart. This woman right here.
Some of their faults, but in a way, but only the ones that people think of lightly and can all relate to. And so they can present as very fair and balanced, but in actuality, they really might be very judgmental of others and unaware of problems in their behavior and their thinking.
So after you provide the examination via the iPad, what do you do?
So once they've completed the test, you can have it scored by the computer immediately. It's a very, very complex test to interpret, but right away you'll get a list of what's called critical items. And these are just some, a couple of the items, the statements that are presented that are more clearly symptom-based. And I always follow up with the examinee. Some of these might have to do with suicide. Some of them might have to do with other symptoms that you just like to get a little bit more information on, because sometimes an examinee might tell you they're completely fine when you're doing your interview with them and that they have no symptoms. And then when they take the test, it says that they're having trouble sleeping, or they struggle with nausea all the time, or they feel very anxious. And so you want to follow up on that.
Okay. What's a code type?
A code type, let me think of how to explain this very, very simply. So the main scales, and I keep referring to scales, these are just the main scores that come up on this test. We can refer to them as codes. And when I was saying that Ms. Heard's scores could be compared to certain groups of people that had been researched before to obtain similar scores, the research has shown that certain people will have certain scores that kind of spike on this, okay? And so all of those traits that I was describing, those are traits that are found in these code types. So it means that score number two was high, and score number 6 was high. And so if we have those two scores were both high, then that's a 2-6 code type. And these code types.
What code type was Ms. Heard?
Ms. Heard had the clearest code type was 3-6, but then she also had some other code types that were less significant.
What characteristics are associated with a 3-6 code type?
So a 3-6 code type, a lot of that anger is expressed in this code type. There can be actually a lot of cruelty, usually with people who are less powerful. Actually, when you see this code type, you want to, if you can, to follow up with subordinates, coworkers, people who may have observed their behavior more closely. The 3-6 code type is very concerned with their image, very attention-seeking, very prone to externalizing blame to a point where it's unclear whether they can even admit to themselves that they do have responsibility in certain areas. A lot of suppressed and denied anger, but the anger is very present, will explode out, and a lot of issues in their close relationships.
How does Ms. Heard's code type fit in with your overall opinion as to personality disorders?
Well, this might be an appropriate time to describe a little bit about these personality disorders, because I think what you'll hear is that there's a lot of consistency there. So borderline personality disorder is a disorder of stability. It's instability, and it's instability in personal relationships. It's instability in their emotions. It's instability in their behavior, and it's instability in their sense of self and their identity. And that instability is really driven by this underlying terror of abandonment. So one of the key features also of this disorder, and all of it is like pistons of an engine kind of firing off and igniting one another. But when somebody is afraid of being abandoned by their partner or by anybody else in their environment, and they have this disorder, they'll make desperate attempts to prevent that from happening. And
Okay, so if I tell you I'm going to end this live stream right now and I'm abandoning the live stream, does anybody feel anything come up within you? Do you want to reach out to me and go, no, don't leave. No, don't abandon the live stream. If you feel that, listen.
those desperate attempts could be physical aggression, it could be threatening, it could be harming themselves. But these are behaviors that are usually very extreme and very concerning to the people around them. The anger is typically what, sadly, it's counteractive, right? So the thing these people fear most is being abandoned, but over time, the anger, the explosive anger that they show when somebody is needing space, or when somebody's really not doing anything wrong, because a lot of times they read into things that they perceive as being a slight to them or being somebody intending to harm them that actually isn't happening. They'll exaggerate it, and they'll explode. They'll react in this heightened manner that is just exhausting for their partners. Oftentimes their partners will try to make them happy at first and really allow themselves to be a punching bag, thinking that they can somehow solve this problem, that somehow they can make this better. And eventually it just overwhelms them. Histrionic personality disorder is very
Before
similar.
we move on to
Okay.
Are you familiar with the term emotional reactivity?
I am.
What is that?
So emotional reactivity is very common in the diagnosis. So essentially, like I said, there's instability in emotions.
I'm sorry, it's just really, really funny. If he said, "Are you familiar with emotional reactivity?" It'd be great if she was like, "No, I'm not familiar with it," and then got really emotionally reactive. I can't help it. I can't help it. These are my thoughts.
People with borderline personality disorder are often misdiagnosed as having bipolar disorder because they can be up and down. They can look very depressed and they can look very elated, but these changes are happening within a matter of hours. Somebody with bipolar disorder, this is a clinical depression lasting days, weeks, a clinical mania where sometimes they even need to be hospitalized because they're so grandiose. They clear out their bank account and go to Vegas and spend it all. They're acting in some very bizarre ways. With borderline personality disorder, you're having these fluctuating moods constantly. And again, this hypersensitivity to being slighted or feeling offended, really driven by the fear that if you're offended or slighted, if the therapist comes in 2 minutes late, or if somebody shows up to dinner 2 minutes late, that they might be abandoning you. And it's not as if the borderline is considering themselves abandoned in that moment, but they just know that they have this overwhelming emotion and there are no attempts to control that emotion. There are no attempts to regulate it. So if they're in the middle of the restaurant and they feel offended, they're going to start the fight. People are going to see it, or they might just start crying or break down, but they'll make a lot of accusations. And that reactivity is when you're going to see a lot of this escalation and bizarre behavior. They can react violently. They can react aggressively. They will often physically prevent their partner from trying to leave if their partner wants to get space from all of this intense emotion. And oftentimes they will be abusive to their partners in these situations. Sometimes they'll physically restrain them from leaving and become injured that way. But also, people with borderline personality disorder, it seems to be a predictive factor for women who implement violence against their partner. And one of the most common tactics that they'll use is actually physically assaulting and then getting harmed themselves. But mostly, we call this administrative violence. So essentially, this is saying that they'll make threats using the legal system. So they might say that they are going to file a restraining order or claim abuse, or they might do these things to essentially try to keep their partner from leaving. In the moment, again, they're not consciously thinking, I'm going to keep my partner from leaving right now. They're just thinking, I can't stand this. I hate my partner. They went from idealizing to suddenly devaluing because of the hurt, and they'll do anything to express that big emotion of anger.
Your Honor, may we approach?
All right, yes, sir.
Activity. What, if any, emotional reactivity did you observe in your review? And let's do this one at a time.
Okay. So there were a couple indications to me. First, I can sort of think about it with the treatment records. So particularly Dr. Cohen Connell's, am I getting the name right? I feel like for some reason in my mind, I might have just reversed it. But Dr. Cohen's records, I did reverse it. He actually refers to this reactivity quite a bit and to Ms. Heard's temper. And that temper, it's often branded, or being hot-headed, is really characteristic of borderline personality disorder, as is their very charming, personable nature. This is a disorder of contradictions. In Nurse Filati's notes, I thought there was something interesting. She references a night when they're out to dinner, I believe in London, and she provided positive reinforcement to Ms. Heard because Ms. Heard had been disappointed by a mistake made by the server, and it sort of references how previously she might have criticized the server or become upset by that, and that she didn't this time, and so that had been some sort of a step forward. And there was also an indication actually in Dr. Hughes's, Dr. Hughes is a forensic psychologist who had been appointed by Ms. Heard to conduct as an evaluation as well. In Ms. Hughes's interview of Ms. Heard disclosed that she had cut her arm in the past, which is a typical reactive type thing somebody with this diagnosis can do. It's one of the symptoms. And that's sort of all I can think of top of my mind from the treatment records. Moving into some of the declarations or deposition testimony, what struck me was Ms. Raquel Pennington's testimony. She's a former friend of Ms. Heard's, and she told a story about, I suppose they were shopping for Thanksgiving accoutrements, something to prepare for Thanksgiving, and Ms. Heard struck her in the face, sort of out of the blue, which is I thought was interesting because that is one of those signs of borderline personality disorder where if a friend or a loved one isn't meeting your needs in that moment, borderline personality.
Wow. This is one of those things that freaks you out because you're like, there's absolutely no reason. I'm in the
Use is a disorder of help, seeking the perfect caretaker.
Here we go.
This underlying drive of avoiding abandonment. With histrionic personality disorder, that underlying drive is to always be the center of attention. Because if you don't have that attention on you, it feels similarly to borderline personality disorder. You feel pretty empty, like you don't have that sense of being or of value. It describes it as a needy supplicant of help, seeking the perfect caretaker, to suddenly being the avenger against injustice or thinking that their partner is a terrible person. With histrionic, what you'll see is somebody who wants to be the center of attention, has sort of that impressionistic speech, very flowery, very enthusiastic, but nothing's really being said. The moment your attention wears away because they're so demanding for attention, that's when they might take the victim role or the princess role and even make up stories. Sometimes those stories are to bolster the victim role. Sometimes those stories are just to make them look more interesting or accomplished in their mind so that they can get respect and attention that way.
Is there a relation between histrionic personality disorder and attractiveness?
There is, strangely, and this is always one of the trickiest things to talk about because how is that a symptom? But characteristically, people with this disorder are very, very interested in looks, but more importantly, they utilize their looks to get that attention, to get that respect that they're seeking. And so this type everybody. Characteristically, they actually couldn't even be subtly, and when I say flirtatious, I'm not talking overtly sexy, but kind of inappropriately flattering. Sometimes they act in a kind of a girlish way to be cute and to engender attention. And this will even occur in their therapy relationships as a way to sort of avoid getting negative feedback or criticism. Oftentimes they'll bring the therapist gifts or be distracting if they engage in therapy because they just don't want any criticism. They want the therapist to like them.
Does the intelligence of the affected person bear on the manner in which these disorders present?
Excuse me, I choked a little at my water. Yes, and I think one way to think about it that's probably a little more accurate than just intelligence is in psychology, we would describe this more as sophistication. So street smarts, so to speak. The way, for instance, I've had many clients who have borderline personality disorder who are messy and really clearly suffering. And they might be difficult and all over the place and yell at you in the middle of a session, but it's so, it's not tailored. It's so much easier to work with because of that just openness and rawness of it, genuineness. Sometimes you'll have a more sophisticated presentation. There are 9 symptoms and only 5 have to be met. So there are a lot of different combinations and different ways it can present. And sometimes you'll have more of a petulant version of this where it really shows when you push the button and you're kind of, whoa, what was that? So somebody who's really productive, high functioning, successful, and you get to know them and you think they're fantastic because they're so interested in you too. And you might not realize it, but they're mimicking you perfectly. So you're really just kind of falling in love with this new friend who is being you. But then all of a sudden, you say something that they think is offensive and you can't, even in your wildest thoughts, understand how that could have offended somebody, but their reaction is so strong that you kind of buy into it. Gosh, maybe I did say something offensive and you feel bad about it. So that sophisticated version, they can be a little bit more calculated in the way they present. They tend to kind of hit you where it hurts a little bit more, and they can be actually very, very destructive.
What conclusions were you able to draw about Ms. Hurd's sophistication from her testing?
Well, from her testing and from her presentation, she was very likable, but her testing in particular showed that she approached it in a manner that, remember I told you about those scales that are pretty neat. She approached it in a manner that very clearly minimized any psychological dysfunction, not just that, but really presented herself as free of any problems. And she did so in a way that was very, very sophisticated, not obvious, by responding to questions that most people might not notice were trying to detect that.
How did you determine that?
So that's based on a particular scale on the MMPI-2 that is designed specifically to detect a type of responding that's a little bit more clever, a little bit more sophisticated, minimizing problems in a way that most lay people probably wouldn't understand, and even providers, very difficult to detect.
You mentioned that one of the characteristics of borderline personality disorder is emotional reactivity. How might that present in an intimate relationship?
So I think it probably presents mostly, or you'd see the bulk of it in intimate relationships because of that regular interaction and the desire for your partner to meet all of your needs, to be the perfect caretaker. Also that the hallmark of the disorder with the splitting, so idealizing, devaluing, and the perceiving of all sorts of neutral events as somehow demeaning or disrespectful. It's regular escalations of anger, frustrated complaints, criticisms of your partner, but because the person with borderline personality disorder, first of all, they're more sensitive to things. They feel distress more strongly, and then that distress lasts longer. So these types of blow-ups go on forever, and they're very cyclic. It feels like you just can't get a resolution, and eventually the partner will try to leave, will want to leave to take a break. It wears them down, and that's when the borderline might explode and act very aggressively or violently to try to prevent them from leaving. Frustrated complaints, criticisms of your partner. But because the person with borderline personality disorder, first of all, they're more sensitive to things. They feel distress more strongly, and then that distress lasts longer. So these types of blow-ups go on forever, and they're very cyclic. It feels like you just can't get a resolution, and eventually the partner will try to leave, will want to leave to take a break. It wears them down, and that's when the borderline might explode and act very aggressively or violently to try to prevent them from leaving.
My God, doesn't that make you want to be in a relationship? Woo! Yeah, relationships. Yay! Can't wait. Oh my God. Sorry, it is a good distraction because it's psychological. Now, my master's in spiritual psychology, I find it all very fascinating. And, it doesn't mean that we know anything. We're not inside their head. We have no idea really what's going on. But yeah. So we will speak. It's already an hour and 40 minutes. So at a later time, we will speak about scientists preparing, speaking of science, trust the science, preparing to restart Cern. We'll end with this. Last 3 years, it's remained dormant. Now, though, scientists at Cern are getting ready to fire up the world's largest particle accelerator once more.
So this is the key of the LHC. Of course, it's a symbolic key. And we received this from the engineering department because they finished all the work in the tunnel. And now they give us the key so that we can start the machine again.
It was shut down in December 2018 to undergo maintenance. It ain't like starting up your car.
It's not flipping a button, no, unfortunately. No, the machine is very complex. Contains, thousands of magnets. And not only magnets, but it contains also beam instrumentation, it contains protection systems, etc., etc. And all these systems have to be tested individually.
Champagne
This
ready?
comes with a certain sense of tension, nervousness.
Scientists are champagne ready to start up the particle accelerator to try to discover dark matter. Champagne ready. Oh, God.
Is everything going well, and will it all work as we expect? There are always risks when you warm up and cool down a machine from room temperature down to minus 270 degrees because materials shrink, etc., etc. Did all this go right? And this will only know in the end if the beam goes around.
Higgs boson is the God particle, in case you don't know. A particle thought to be vital to the formulation of the universe after the Big Bang.
So the Higgs boson, of course, was kind of a holy grail to find, because we knew it was there, and finally we managed to find it. And now there is a lot of work going on to study it. But the other thing, and of course an even more exciting thing, is to see if we can find dark matter. Because this is this cliche thing. If you look to the sky in the evening, you see this 95%, or you see this 5% of what's out there, and the other 95% you don't see. And this is for us what we call the black matter. And we hope to be able to discover hints of the existence and how to look for it, also with the LHC.
Did not want to be a downer as far as relationships go, the psychosis of relationships and dark matter and all this shit. And I don't want to bring fear. So let's end this live stream with a little hope, a little love, right? Yeah. I was doing a divine detour the other day, and I happened to I happened to discover a couple that was getting married right there on my divine detour. This couple was getting married, and I noticed, of course, that they didn't have a videographer. And they asked me to be a witness. So not only was I a witness, I just made a 2-minute video for them because I knew that they didn't have a videographer. And I sent it to them tonight. And she basically sent me a text and said she was crying and she's so grateful and blah, 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 blah. So I think that's a good place to end the live stream on. So we all still believe in love. Because, just because we all have, not me, I'm perfect, but other people have psychosis, not me. Not me. I'm talking about me. All right, here we go. Let's focus on this, guys. Focus on the love, right? It still does exist. It still does exist. According to, they were on a cliff. They could have pushed each other off, but they didn't. They chose to get married instead. Kind of the same, but don't tell them yet. Just kidding. Here we go. This is a video that I just edited for her, and I put it to one of my favorite songs. And it's copyright free because this is someone I know who sang this song. I hope you enjoy it. Even Spinny sings for a minute.
Like a river flows surely to the sea, darling, so it goes. Some things are meant to be. Take my hand, take my whole life too, for I can't help falling in love with you. Like a river flows surely to the sea, darling, so it goes. Some things are meant to be. So take my hand, take my whole life too, for I can't help falling in love with you. No, I can't help falling in love with you.
Spirit lead me where my trust is without borders. Let me walk upon the waters wherever you would call me. Take me deeper than my feet could ever wander, and my faith will be made stronger in the presence of my Savior.
Out upon the waters, the great unknown, where feet may fail. And there I find you in the mystery and oceans deep. My faith will stand.
Your grace abounds in deepest waters. Your sovereign hand will be my guide. Where peace makes all our fears around me. You never failed, and you won't stop now.
Spirit lead me where my trust is without borders. Let me walk upon the waters wherever you would call me. Take me deeper than my feet could ever wander, and my faith will be made stronger in the presence of my Savior. Spirit lead me, Spirit lead me, Spirit lead me. Take me deeper, take me deeper, take me deeper into you.